Hey guys, and here I am in the one, the only, Mexico City, Ciudad de Mexico. And I've just been here a few weeks and I'm going to make quite a few videos from here, but today I'm just going to talk about my initial impressions. And I want to compare Mexico City to Belarus, Russia, as well as Southeast Asian options such as Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines. That's what we'll do. So I will cover food and lifestyle. I'll cover prices. I'll cover just general life here, conveniences, inconveniences. I'll talk about prices, how many foreigners there are here, what kind of foreigners are around, how does that affect your life here. And I'll also talk about dating options and dating culture between these three areas. So first up, I'm going to stay safe. I'm going to talk about food. And I'll tell you what, one thing that I'm a bit disappointed in Belarus and Russia is the lack of convenient food. You just don't get a lot of food that's easily accessible. Yeah, the supermarkets are decent quality enough. The food supply is decent enough. The restaurants, when you find them, are fine, but there's a lack of convenient food. Yeah, you have to go to like McDonald's equivalent or KFC equivalent or something like this. I mean, this is kind of where you're going. You can get shawarmas around the place, but as you know, if you've been to Belarus, you know the shawarmas there are weirdly bad. I don't know why they're so bad, to be honest, but they are. They're kind of like this mid-flavorless chicken with some carrot and some cabbage, and you really can't eat them too often. If you're desperate, you can. But other than that, the occasional stolovaya and related food that might be like at a train station or something, other than that, there's just no convenient options. I mean, you're just left with your handful of restaurants around each major metro, a couple of areas, Zabitskaya, Koberskaya, in the shopping centres, and that's kind of what you have. Like, you just don't have a lot of convenient options. Whereas Southeast Asia, of course, is known for street food, and it delivers more or less. But I'll tell you what, after eating a lot of street food here in Mexico City, it is so good. It is a game changer. It is infinitely better than Southeast Asian street food. Whoa, there it goes. It is meat heavy. It has incredible, intricate, delicious flavors attached to all these tacos. There's taco dudes everywhere. They've all got their own kind of slightly unique recipe, and they put love into it, you know? Like, you go to your taco dude and he recognizes you, he remembers you, he gives you a high five, like, not high five, fist pump maybe. Mi amigo! Like, it's a, of course they're trying to make money as well, but you get that sense of kind of a community service kind of aspect to it, which you do tend to find in more social environments like here. Now, this is a huge difference because this makes your life so convenient. You know what I mean? There's lots of like little pastry shop dudes there and dudes selling nuts and lollies and drinks. And you really don't have to be that well organized. You just kind of eat on the run all the time, which I really love to do. I don't want to have to sit down at a restaurant for every meal. You know what I mean? So in terms of food, man, this is like, and if you're a meat lover like I am, I love to eat dead animals. I love them all. And they're all here in abundance, in absolute abundance. I'll just walk up to a corner here and show you some of the just local places as I come through. But food, man, without a doubt, this is the best. Let's talk about general prices. Look, I'm in La Condesa, which you'll no doubt know if you've been to Mexico City. There's kind of like 5 or 6 what I would call gringo neighborhoods, which are the very safe ones. Right? These are the very safe ones. And now, of course, the prices around here are quite high. The rents are quite high. And even just the prices of just basic stuff is kind of high, weirdly high. Not street food, because, of course, gringos don't really eat street food. They tend to go to restaurants, right? So prices here are fairly high. I mean, they're probably, I don't know, maybe comparable to Moscow? Maybe. But definitely second-tier Russia and Minsk, Belarus, and then, of course, Southeast Asia. It's all way cheaper. Definitely way cheaper, especially kind of restaurante kind of meals. So price levels, including rents, if you want to stay in this very cliquey little bubble, because as I say, man, like, I don't know how many gringos there are. I believe there's 1.6 million gringos in Mexico. I don't know how many are here in Mexico City, at least a few 100,000. And they all live within friggin' 3 kilometers of each other. It's this kind of alternate lefty hipster universe going on here. And as a result, the rents are sky high in this region. And this includes obviously Palanco, the Romas, and of course Lakandesa and a few others. And it's kind of spilling out slowly but surely. But once you get to the edge of this area, it goes from just gringos everywhere to very local, very quickly, right? So I'm going to keep that in mind. But yeah, prices here just a little bit higher. Like I felt it. The bank balance is dropping out a little bit faster in my cash account. I'm just going to turn you around because, you know, you really want to see my head, probably not. So again, look, this is a pretty nice area. It's not the nicest, but it's up there. You know, it's your top kind of 10% kind of neighborhood. And just let you see everything for yourself. I'll just go up in the corner here. There's a train station up here and a few fairly highly trafficked eateries, which I'll just show you. Just kind of explain some of the prices and some of the meals there. Let's talk about weather, a nice safe one. Look, this is a big problem, man. Honestly, if you want to live in Russia and Belarus, it's not even the cold. Yeah, of course it's bloody cold. Yeah, for 6 months of the year. And, you know, the further, obviously, north you go, the worse it gets. But the real problem is just how dark and gloomy it is, you know? Dark and gloomy. Typical kind of cafe/restaurant type thing. It's just gloomy and dark there. I mean, Minsk, you can go up to 2 months with no sun. And as much as you don't want it to have an effect on you, it will. Yeah, it will. And then Southeast Asia is kind of down the other end, where it's just hot and it's humid and it's 32 to maybe 38 every day. Very typical taco offer there. You put that on your tacos when you're sitting here and eating it. It's pretty much the same everywhere. There's a nice takeaway taco place here as well. Got some more. There's a few of these are franchises. I'm surprised how many places. You can see the men here eating their tacos, having a good time. All right, so exchange rate, I don't even know what it is. I think it's 18 to 1, yeah? So US dollars, of course. Some people think I'm talking about Australian dollars, obviously US dollars. So, yeah, this is kind of a simple takeaway kind of place. You can get a pollo here for around 10 Australian dollars roasted. Which, whatever that is, $6 US, something to that effect. Got a nice health food store here. I came and purchased several goods the other day. Protein powder, collagen peptides, all that good stuff. And this is a place I go to actually quite regularly. This is always open. Look at the pig meat there. Check that out. Oh, it looks like the lights are gone out. Look at all that pig meat. Catty. You can see here the tacos like maybe 20 pesos, kind of like $1 and a bit. This kind of more local place. Dr. Simi, super famous here. Hopefully there's a few street sellers around the corner here. You see this dude just flogging off a few cigarettes and lollies and stuff. You can see the cigarettes there being sold per cigarette, not by the packet. Ah, damn it, they're not here. Oh, you got a shoe polisher dude here, doing his thing. And you can see the old bus there. And the chick up here selling her just random socks or whatever. There's usually like a couple of big stalls here where they're selling like, you know what, I'm not going to get in here because it gets a bit kind of industrial looking along this main road. So I'm just going to do a U-E and walk back to kind of a nicer area for you guys to look at. Here's the metro. You can see there the station for your own Chapultepec if you ever come here. It's right on the edge of Lakandesa, and there's quite a few famous buildings on the other side there that you might know. Man, I'm bumping into everyone. It's kind of more the business center up there. Reforma, if you know Ciudad de Mexico. And there's a famous, oh yeah, that one there is really famous. It's kind of hidden behind this big one. It's a very famous political building, which gets everyone telling you what a waste of money it was, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I was talking about weather. So look, Russia and Belarus have these crushing winters, and I remember the first winter I had in Belarus, I'm like, would you guys stop whinging? It's just cold, put on a jacket and grow a fucking pear, you know what I mean? That was kind of my attitude. But during that second winter in Belarus, I was just like, man, it's so depressing and it's just grim, and I just got, yeah, I know what the locals mean now. You know, I know what the locals mean. So you can see how well this is all beautifully landscaped, and what you have, because it's such a rich neighborhood, what you have is just an abundance of staff. You know, there's nothing on the ground, right? It's not because people don't drop shit. It's because there's so many staff that are around cleaning stuff, right? Constantly sweeping, and no doubt in the next few minutes you'll see someone sweeping or trimming or doing something, right? So, and then again in Southeast Asia, I mean, it's hot, it's humid, it's, you know, you kind of tend towards the shopping centres. If you live in Bangkok, you live in Kuala Lumpur, or Jakarta, or even Manila, you're going to tend towards those shopping centres. And I don't know about you, but mate, I don't want to live in a shopping centre. Like, I don't want to spend my life in shopping centres. It's a fucking shit life. So that's one negative. But for me, honestly, I don't mind the heat. For me, it's totally fine. Maybe past about 35, it gets a little bit fucking warm. But up until about 35, I'm fine with it, to be honest. I don't mind the Southeast Asian heat. A little Vespa in there. I don't mind the heat, to be honest. But here in Mexico City, man, the weather's perfect. The weather's absolutely perfect. I mean, it's probably 25 every day. I'd like it down to 15, but it's still, you still walk around in shorts more or less, just to, coming back from somewhere late at night or leaving for something early in the morning. It's fine. So I'm just wearing shorts every day. Unless it's raining, which does happen, so I can wear the pants. But weather-wise, it's just a pleasure. And after spending, over 2 years in Belarus and Russia, and then probably almost something similar in South Asia and Southeast Asia, facing constant extreme weather conditions, it's really nice just to be able to stroll around and not care too much about the weather, because it's just going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Just take an umbrella and you'll be fine. So that's really refreshing. Safety is a very interesting topic. And I think, look, I've said a million times that Belarus is probably the safest nation state on the earth. I'd say it has the least street crime, etc., etc., etc. You're least likely to get mugged, pickpocketed, beaten up, blah, blah, blah. I'd say it's the safest. Maybe Singapore is, maybe Japan is. I don't know the technical side of it, but probably, in terms of data and what have you, but probably Belarus would be the safest, right? And look, Russia's not unsafe. It's a mid-country. It's probably like the US in terms of safety, more or less. Like, you will, have your little, problems here and there potentially, but nothing too major. It's just like, again, more like a Western European country, really, in terms of safety. And in Southeast Asia, look, Asia's pretty safe, man. Like, the chance of anything really bad happening in Asia is pretty low, outside of things like drink spiking and that kind of stuff. Outside of that, it's fairly safe. Yeah, maybe Manila. Well, not maybe, definitely Manila. You'll have to watch your pockets a bit and blah, blah, blah. But, overall, Asia's a pretty safe continent. In the scheme of things, they all think it's riddled with crime, but compared to most continents, it's obviously not. But look, Mexico, look, walking around in these rich gringo areas, I mean, nothing's going to happen, obviously. Even 2 a.m, probably nothing's going to happen. I have ventured out a lot around the city, and a couple of times I've been in a spot, and especially last Friday, I was down far south, and it was a bit rough and ready, but that's kind of how I like it, right? It's much more fun and interesting, how do people really live and whatever. And I'm kind of wandering around a bit, and it just started raining, and it was getting a bit dark earlier because it was raining, and I just got that, like, all my experiences and everything from being in different countries, whatever. For the first time, I really got this sense of, I don't want to be here after dark. Like, this is where shit can go down. You know what I mean? So I kind of got back on the train and went to a shopping centre kind of nearby, where it's not going to be too bad. But I think in general, as long as you stay out of the rougher areas, the bottom 20% maybe, as long as you stay at the bottom areas, and as long as you generally, well, actually during the daytime you can probably be anywhere really, but at night time you want to watch where you are a little bit. If you have to carry a fake wallet, I don't know, whatever. I've used the metros quite a bit here. They're really fast and efficient. They're a bit rough during peak hours, like people try and push on and all this kind of stuff, but look, they're fast. They're usually faster and more efficient than Ubers. Ubers are here, but that they can suffer if there's a bit of congestion around. They can really suffer. I mean, I know even my first day here from the airport, it took, I think it's 9 miles, and I reckon it took an hour and a half in an Uber. So that's kind of gives you an idea. So let's talk about foreigners. Second last topic. Let's talk about foreigners. So in Russia, look, there aren't really any foreigners, mate. You know what I mean? Like, obviously Central Asians and whatever, but in terms of Westerners, there's just not many foreigners. You're going to struggle to find mates who speak English, etc., etc. Belarus, there's maybe a little bit more, but it's still almost none. And the networks there are pretty tight. Like, people know each other, all that kind of stuff. Well, the ambulance system seems to work all right. In Southeast Asia, the foreigners, look, it depends where you are. I mean, a place like, let's say, the Philippines, it's just kind of like sex pests and kind of older dudes, and I don't want to use the word incel, but a lot of incel, young incel kind of guys there as well, neckbeard types, I struggled to find any friends there. I thought it was a hard place to network. Thailand, you get a much wider range, obviously digital nomads and lots of other foreigners as well. Vietnam's the same. I spent 3 months in Da Nang, and definitely easy to make mates there, really easy. I networked like crazy. I had extensive networks after 3 months of just other dudes essentially. Although it is dude heavy, so obviously it's not a place you'd want to go to for dating, Da Nang, but it's a good place to live. Very male heavy in terms of the foreigner networks. Where else is there? Indonesia, obviously no foreigners at all, apart from Bali and the surrounding areas of Bali. Kuala Lumpur, yeah, you get a few foreigners there. You can definitely have enough to have some mates, and more normal guys, just normal everyday dudes that's got a job there, whatever. Here, it's fucking weird. There's something weird going on here. It's like some weird lefty hipster club. I don't know why. It's all the Americans you meet, they're all like either just total cringe hipsters, right? Just cringe hipsters. And all they do is like go to local cafes, stay within like 1 kilometre of fucking Dessa. And I don't know what they're doing here, to be honest. But they're here, and a lot of them, like fucking heaps. And then there's all these lefties, who have escaped Trump's America. They have escaped Trump's America. Bless their simple little hearts, honestly. So this is kind of what you get when you meet a foreigner here. There's a really reasonable chance that you'll have a fairly typical conversation. And what I've noticed that happens is when you ask them, what are you doing here? Like, how long are you here for? What are you doing for? Blah, blah, blah. They're always like, oh, you know, with all the things going on in America right now, they look at you like this really intense. They keep their eyes and they kind of nod their head at everything. And then they squint their eyes. So I'm just trying not to get run over at the same time. And they squint their eyes like, you know what I mean? Like they're like coding. Are you a crazy fucking commie like I am? You know, that's the vibe. It's so funny. They do the exact same thing. I've had this conversation 10 times. Where they just like, yeah, squint their eyes like, you know what I mean? Like, you know this fantasy that we're living in, this political echo chamber that doesn't fucking exist? That's why I moved here, man. In saying all that, there's so many foreigners here that you can actually find some decent people. So I've already found a couple of mates to knock around with. Just kind of decent people. Americans, Australians, Brits as well. But not that many Brits, but yeah, mainly gringos, of course, Americanos here. Last of all is dating culture. So Eastern Europe, dating culture, it's kind of weird. It's a weird culture. It's a weird kind of a service-based culture almost. In terms of the man serving the woman. It's not a particularly warm place in terms of dating. Again, look, it depends a lot on your age range you're going for, of course. In a place like Russia and Belarus, the girls kind of chill out a bit as they get older. But it's kind of a funny place. It's a funny place where there's not really a culture around dating as much. People just get together young. I mean, if you look at Belarus and Russia, people are just, they're all together by the time they're 19, more or less. Unless you're in Moscow, you know what I mean, or St. P. Otherwise, everyone's just kind of linked in. And the ones that aren't linked in by like 2021, they're not the ones you kind of want to be with as a general rule. So it's really closed in a sense, the dating culture. I mean, you can meet heaps of girls to go on dates with and have various kinds of relationships with, whatever, but there'll always be kind of certain archetypes. Southeast Asia, look, it varies a lot country to country. I mean, Philippines is a funny one because you've got this kind of single mother culture. It's a very shy culture, Philippines, you know. You watch all the YouTube channels that are always talking about, you know, every old man having a young girlfriend and all this kind of stuff. There's a bit of bullshit there. And what you find is the foreigners are generally just with single mums. Because they have this kind of weird thing. Hey, buddy. They have this kind of weird thing. These guys trying to sell me something. They walk around Condessa where all the Americans live saying, oh, do you speak English? It's like, I like your sales pitch, brah. I like it. So yeah, Philippines is kind of funny like that. You kind of get your, mainly most foreigners there just have single mum girlfriends. Even young guys. Like I met guys like younger than me who have like single mum girlfriends. It's like interesting. And kind of like just a normal girl in the Philippines, man, they're so shy. They're so shy. So it's kind of a weird dating culture. Vietnam, look, there's not a lot of crossover. Vietnamese, especially kind of a place like Da Nang, they've got more of the Chinese culture around dating, which generally conflicts a lot with Western style. A few other options there, but you get the mix. You can in Southeast Asia, you'll definitely get some dates. You'll definitely meet some girls, but it can be a bit tricky in parts. And of course, it depends what you want. Because I mean, you know, dating in Southeast Asia, it started off with just all the old guys going to Thailand for prostitution. I mean, that's kind of how it started, and it probably hasn't evolved that much since then, to be honest. So then you have here, which is interesting because Russia, where people are kind of more standoffish. Asia, where probably girls are just a bit shy, and there's a lot of language barriers as well. And then here, girls are really warm. They're very warm. They like, if you just start chatting to a girl, like say I'm on this park bench, right? So there's some girl here, and she gives me a bit of a look. I give her a bit of a look. She's like pretty open. So then I come down here, I sit down here, and I say, "Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Benjamin." Chances are, I'm the one that's going to have to lead the conversation because she'll lock in and start chatting. And it's a bit of a cultural politeness thing and blah, 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 blah. But I found here that there's a very active dating culture and a very normal dating culture. And I say normal because I think that Russia, Belarusian dating culture, look, it's fine. You can go there and you'll find a girlfriend, you'll find some dates, whatever. But it's a weird dating culture. It's kind of a one-sided dating culture, I would say. Whereas here, it's like the girls are just a little bit like guys. You know what I mean? Not exactly like guys, because if they were, the whole place would be an orgy, obviously, and the whole place would have worked. But you just see the girls just that little bit more active, you'd say, in the dating space, and more kind of have their eyes out a little bit more. You know what I mean? Have their eyes open a bit more for guys. Just like maybe 10% of what guys do, but that's a lot, right? That's a lot. And you don't have the single mum problem like you have in Philippines, because they actually wear condoms here. Girls are really strict on the idea of condoms, and I've got this joke, like you're in Starbucks and a girl looks over at you, you look over at smile, and she smiles and she's like, "Put on a condom." You know what I mean? They're so kind of on it. It's kind of interesting. Whereas Philippines, all my understanding there is that like girls find it offensive if you want to wear a condom. It's like, what, you don't like me? You don't want to like mix juices or whatever? Like, this is just my overall understanding of it. So that's a big difference. So you don't have this whole like single mum kind of thing going on. You know what I mean? Now, of course, yeah, whatever, genetics of girls, temperaments of girls, whatever you want. But I feel like here, it's a little bit more kind of social. As I say, like in Eastern Europe, Russia, Belarus, people just aren't that social. People just don't have that many friends. They don't do that much. Belarus is a bit different. Belarus is a lot more active. People are more active. But in Russia, people just kind of stick to themselves. So dating can be a little bit of a challenge, potentially, if you don't cold approach. If you cold approach girls, well, that's different. If you just go up to talk to girls and try your luck, okay, you'll get something, you know what I mean? You'll meet some girls, you go on some dates, blah, blah. But if you don't, and you're a foreigner going to Mother Russia, and you're trying to date girls, there's not really any online dating there. Moscow, there's a bit of online dating, St. Pete maybe, but the rest, there's no, you know, nothing. So given that the social networks are kind of limited, if you don't, like, have the balls actually to start conversations with random girls, you're not going to have an active dating life in Russia outside those two big cities. Whereas here, the online dating, oh my goodness, it's pretty big. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing. Now, of course, the same problem with online dating everywhere. You've got obviously more women than men, and that allows women to kind of bat above their average a fair bit. You know what I mean? It happens here as well. All right, gents. Well, I don't know how long this video has gone for, but probably a good 15 minutes. As I say, look, this is my initial impressions. Maybe I've been a bit loose or even inaccurate with some things, I don't know. But over the next month or so, I'll make some more videos in some more detail about life here and how it varies from, again, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, etc. Pros and cons. I've got to gather my data. You know, I need a whole lot of anecdotes here to collect my data and work out what the fuck's going on.